Rabbi Sai, time to get going. Daf Chaf Beis Amud Aleph. We were learning yesterday something that's a little bit jarring, which is that the Gemara is maintaining the position that the script that we use today, which we call Ksav Ashuris, was not the original script. The Torah was given in a different script, those stick letters that we find in archaeological digs, and that was really originally Ksav Ivri, and it's actually alluded to in the Torah, because the Torah talks about a King's Sefer Torah, calls it Mishneh Torah. So what is Mishneh Torah? Something that would eventually be Mishuneh, that would eventually be changed. Okay, so that's alluded to. That was even built into the coding of the Torah. Another thing that we saw was from Sefer Daniel, that famous story from the beginning of Sefer Daniel when there's magical writing on the wall in Belshazzar's kingdom, and no one can understand it until they call Daniel and he interprets it for them. Well, the Gemara says, why could no one read it? It's because it was written in this new script, Ksav Ashuris, and no one was used to it yet. And that's the reason why it was so cryptic. So we're now in the fifth line of the Gemara. Lama nikra Ashuris, Sha'ala Imayme Ashur. So according to all of this, why is it called Ashuris script? Because it came with the Jews from Assyria. In other words, when they came up from the exile, they brought this with them, but it was not endemic to them. Tanya Rebbe Omer betchila b'ksav zet nitna Torah liYisrael keven shechatu nepach lahem l'ro'etz keven shechazu behen hechziru lahem. Rebbe has a different shita. This is how the Rambam learns. Rebbe's shita is that originally it was given in Ksav Ashuris. The Torah was given to them in Assyrian script. And this is consistent with many other Gemaras. You know, the Gemara in Megillah that says that the Luchos miraculously were suspended, certain letters, like the hole in the letter Mem, miraculously was suspended in the Luchos, even though it was bored through from one side to the other. Well, that only works if we're dealing with Assyrian script. In the original ancient Hebrew script, there's no circular letters like that. So that Gemara is consistent with this. But what happened was that the Jewish people sinned in the First Temple era, and they forgot the holiness of the Assyrian script, and as a punishment for their idolatry, they resorted back to this more primitive script. But then when they returned back to Yerushalayim and did Tshuva, they got the original Ashuris script back. Shenamar shuvu lebitzaron asirei hatikva, gam hayom magid mishneh ashiv lach. That this is a pasuk from Zechariah. Go back to the fortified city, those who have been imprisoned from hope. Today I will return to you the Magid Mishneh, the original changed language I will restore to you. So Lama Nikra Shema Ashuris. So according to this, why is it called Ashuris? It's not Assyrian. The answer is Shema Usheres Biksav, that it is enriched or fortified in the way that it's written. In other words, it has a very aesthetically nice appearance to it. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, Omer Mishum Rabbi Eliezer ben Prata, Shomer Mishum Rabbi Elazar Hamodai, Ksav Ze Lo Nishtana Kol Iker. And he has a third opinion that says there never was a period when we didn't have Ksav Ashuris. We've always used this script. Now, of course, this is a very difficult position to accept based on our knowledge of archaeology, because we know for a fact that there was a period in Jewish history when the more primitive stick letters, which we call Ksav Ivris, was used. It was used in practice. But they not read
both and just for shorthand use the stick?
Perhaps that could be, maybe that's one way of answering it, I don't know. Shenamar, as it says, Vavei ha'amudim, ma amudim lo nishtanu, af vavim lo nishtanu. Those hooks in the Mishkan were embedded in the Mishkan to hang up the walls of the Mishkan. And they're called Vavim to correspond to the letter Vav. Just like those hooks in the Mishkan never changed, so too the letter Vav's shape never changed. Va'omer ve'el ha'Yehudim kich savam ve'chilshonam, ha'lashonam lo nishtana, aksavam lo nishtana. And furthermore, in Megillas Esther it says, send messages to the Jews according to their script and according to their language. So the pasuk equates the two, that just like their language, Hebrew, never changed, so too Hebrew script never changed. Elama'ani mekayim es mishnei haTorah hazos. Well, then how do you understand the word Mishnah Torah that is written in the context of the king's Torah? Doesn't that mean that the script changed? No. It means l'shtei Toros echa sheyotz v'nichneses imo ve'echa shemunachas lo beveis genazav. Just like we learned yesterday, the word Mishnah doesn't mean change, it means twice. Two, that there was a second Torah that the king had. One Torah he kept in his storehouse, and the other one he took wherever he went. Osa shiyotz v'nichneses imo osa kemin kameya v'tola bizro. And the Torah that the king carried along with him wherever he went, he put in a leather pouch like an amulet and affixed it to his right arm. And I'm thinking it's just like a pair of tefillin on the right arm instead of on the left arm. That's what it sounds like, the way the Gemara is describing it. Shenamar, and how do I know this? Shenamar shivisi Hashem lenegdi samid, as it says, I have placed God in front of me at all times. And as the next part of the pasuk says, ki yamini bal emot, it will never be separated from my right hand. V'idach hay shivisi my darish be. So if you don't learn that the king had a second Torah that he carried with him at all times, what do you do with this pasuk of shivisi Hashem lenegdi samid? Hahu mi boy like the Rav Chana bar Bizna, Damar Rav Chana bar Bizna, Amar Rav Shimon Chasida, Hamispalel tzarich sheyareh atzmo ki'ilu shechina kenegdo shenemar shivisi Hashem lenegdi samid. That when you're davening, you have to envision that the divine presence is standing there right in front of you. And that's from the pasuk shivisi Hashem lenegdi samid, which is why so many of our Batei Knesset have that in the front of the shul, because that's what you're supposed to be thinking. Now, l'Reb Shimon da'amar ksav zelo nishtana, my lo kaholin ksav l'mikra. So the question now is, according to Reb Shimon, who says that the script never changed and that everyone would recognize this script because it was always the same, then what was so cryptic about the writing on the wall? Why couldn't people understand it? Previously, we explained it because the script had changed on that day, and this was a new script that no one was familiar with. But why, if you're saying that it was always the same, what was so mysterious about the writing on the wall? Amar Rav b'gematria ichtiv lahon, yatas adach pug chamat. So the answer is that it was written in code. And that's why it wasn't that the script was different, it's just that it was written in code and people couldn't understand it. Even though the Gemara calls this gematria, really what the Gemara means is it was written in atbash. You know the atbash method? Where the aleph becomes a taf, the beis becomes a shin, the gimel becomes a resh, and so forth. So the words that appeared in the pasuk were mana takal uparsin. Those were the four words, mana takal uparsin. Now, those words are mysterious in and of themselves. We'll explain what they mean in just a minute. But they're even more mysterious because they were written in code form. So instead of mana, it said yatas. Instead of takal, it said adach. Using, again, and uparsin turns into bukhamat, using this atbash method. Now, my parish lahu, mana takal uparsin. So how did Daniel explain to them what these four words mean? Mana elaka malchusach vishalmach. That God has measured, that's what the word mana. God has measured your kingdom, and He has decided l'shalma, to complete it. It's coming to an end. This is what Daniel's saying to Belshazzar. Takil, the word takil, which is the third word, is takilta b'moznaya ve'hishtakachta chasir. God has weighed your behavior on a scale and has found it to be lacking. And finally, the word uparsin is prisas malchusach diahavis l'madai uparas. The word paras means to separate or to half, that God has decided to tear your kingdom asunder and split it between Media and Persia. That's what Daniel explained. I mean, that's really actually in Daniel chapter 6. If you look at the text, that's exactly how he translated it for Belshazzar. Ushmuel Amar mimetos nenakfi a'alaran. That Shmuel says the code form was not that it was written in atbash, but rather it was written in this unusual way that mana takalu parsin was written vertically on the wall instead of horizontally. Mm-hmm. So if you would have read the words the words vertically, it would have, like in Chinese, right?
Yes.
They go down, mana mana takalu parsin. But by reading it horizontally, you read the first you read the first letter of the first word, and then the first letter of the second word, and then the first letter of the third word, and so therefore you got like mana mana takal uparsin turns to mem mem taf vav, and so it's right. So and then it went to the second letter of the first word, the second letter of the right of the second word, etc., etc., etc. And that's what was cryptic about it. And it was only Daniel who could see that if you read it vertically, it made sense. And Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Anam lakas nisarfu. And Rabbi Yochanan says that the way it was written is that the words were written backwards. Instead of mana mana, it was anam anam. And takal was written lakas, and uparsin was nisarfu. And Ravashi Omar, nama nama katal pursin, he says the words were jumbled even more than just being written backwards, but there was just a whole jumble, and you had to decipher it. But the bottom line is that you don't have to say that the script was different. The letters looked normal, but they were all jumbled in some different configuration, and that's why it was difficult for anyone to figure it out except for Daniel. Next Mishnah. Ein rochvin al suso ve'ein yoshvin al kiso ve'ein mishtamshim b'sharvita. You're not allowed to ride on the king's horse. You're not allowed to sit on his throne. You're not allowed to use his scepter. And when we say the word scepter, what we'll see momentarily means any of the king's personal effects cannot be used. Scepter is just an example. Ve'ein roan oso kishuhu mistaper velo kishuhu orom velo kishuhu beveis hamerchatz. You're not allowed to look at the king when he's getting a haircut, when he's naked, or when he's in the bathhouse. These are all compromising situations. You know, you want to see the king in all of his glory. Shenamar som tasim alecha melech shetei maso alecha. As the Torah says, surely you shall place upon yourself a king, which means that his awe shall be upon you. When you see a guy getting a haircut, it's not awesome. Okay. The Gemara now says, Omer Rav Yaakov, Omer Rav Yochanan, Avishag muteres lishlomo va'asura la'adoniya. This woman, whose name is Avishag, who we're going to learn about momentarily. I mean, it's an explicit story at the very beginning of Sefer Melachim, that when David was at the very last stages of his life, and he was 70 years old, he started to lose body heat. And his advisors told him, let's get a young maiden who's filled with vigor and body heat, and she's beautiful, so she'll excite you as well. And we'll put her in bed with you, and she'll keep you warm. And that was the advice. And this is what this woman, Avishag, was used as King David's consort, not to be married to him, not to be sexually intimate with him, just to keep him warm. So halachically, she would have been permitted to marry Shlomo, but not permitted to marry Adonijah, who tried to become king after David but failed. Now, muteres l'Shlomo de melech haya u'melech mishtamish b'sharvito shel melech va'asur la'Adonijah dehedjodhu. Shlomo could have married her because one king can utilize another king's personal effects. And Abishag is like a scepter. She's like the king's personal effect. But Adonijah, who never was a king, was a commoner, would not have been allowed to marry her. Now, Avishag Mahi. What's the story of Avishag? Dichsiv v'hamelech David zakein ba bayomim v'goymer v'yomer lo avadav yivakshu v'gomer v'chsiv v'yivakshu nara yafa v'goymer v'chsiv v'hanara yafa ad ma'od. It's basically saying, look it up. Look up the psukim. You'll see the whole story is explicitly written. And essentially she became sort of like the king's personal butler because she was with him at all times towards the end of his life. So Amra, at some point, she turns to the king. They're speaking very nice pillow talk. They're in bed together all the time. And she says, let's get married already. Like what's stopping you from just marrying me? So Amar La Asirasli, he says to her, no, mitornished, I can't marry you. Mitornished, yeah, I can't marry you.
He spoke Yiddish.
I can't marry you because I already have 18 wives and I've maxed out, right? So Amrale Chasre Leginava Nafshe L'Shalma Nakit. So she says to him a saying. As the saying goes, when a ganef has no available heist to pull off, he says, I've decided to become rehabilitated. There's a Ganav is not rehabilitated. He just doesn't have any available stealing opportunities. So basically what she was alluding to him is, you just don't want to marry me because you're not able to perform anymore. You're an alter yid. Yeah. And
Before the age of no Viagra.
She says, you're not virile anymore, basically is what she's saying. And you're just making up excuses. You're just making up excuses as to why you don't want to marry me. So Amar Lahu Kiruli Labasheva, Uchsiva Tavo Basheva El Hamelech Achadra, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav Ba'osa Shah Kimcha Basheva Bishlosh Esrei Mapos. So he says at that moment, let's get Basheva in the room. And Basheva comes in, as the pasuk says, right after the story of Avishag. And at that moment, after that event, Basheva had to wipe herself 13 times, meaning that David was able to perform 13 times consecutively, basically to show Avishag that he was still as virile as ever, right? That's amazing, right? I mean, a guy at 70 being able to do that kind of performance is really quite remarkable, but that's why he was David.
He still needed Avishag. If you could do that.
The nace is that he's with him in bed all day, and he doesn't succumb to his virility, right? Right, and this is like you said before. This is before Viagra. This is like he's very, very powerful man. Amar of Shaman Bar Abba Boer a Kamakashin Gerushin Shaharei David Hamelech Hitirlo Liyached Velo Hitirlo Legarish. So he says, look how difficult, and look how much the sages wish to avoid divorce. They suspended the prohibition that we learned about yesterday about yichud with a penuya, about secluding yourself with a single woman. Now, I'm sure she went to mikvah, she wasn't a nida, so of course David could consort with her physically. But to have yichud, the rabbi said you can't even have yichud with a penuya. But they said, for refuah, we'll allow it for David HaMelech. But they should have really said, David, there's a solution. Just divorce one of your wives or concubines, and you'll be able to have Avishag as your wife. But no, they said it is so bad to utilize divorce ever that no, we're better off suspending the Isser of Yichud on a Penuya before we allow you to get divorced. Amar Rabbi Lazar called him Megarish es Ishto Rishona Afilu Mizbeach Moridolav Demos, and therefore Rabbi Lazar says that anyone who divorces his first wife, then even the altar sheds tears. The altar represents the point of conjunction between Hashem and the Jewish people. And divorce represents a tearing apart of that symbol. Shenemar v'zo shenyas tasuk sos dima es mizbach Hashem bechi va'anaka me'ein od pinos el hamincha v'lokachas ritzon miyedchem. That this is a pasuk in Malachi that there's going to be tears covering the altar because no longer will sacrifices be accepted. Uchesiv va'amartem al ma al ki Hashem heyid beinech ubeincha ubein eishes nurayich asher ata bagadata ba v'hichev rasecha ve'eishes berisecha. The very next pasuk says that why is there such sadness at this time? Because you have rebelled, or that God has testified between you and the wife of your youth, that you rebelled against her, you betrayed her, and yet she was the woman that you your whole covenant, your whole life was based upon. And so therefore that's a metaphor that the Mizbeach is crying over. Amar Rabbi Yochanan v'itema Rebbe Lazar ein ishto shel adam meisa elim kein mevakshu mimenu mamon ve'ein la. He says another frightening thing, that a person's wife dies in his lifetime if he owed money and he wasn't able to pay it. Because essentially a man's wife is his collateral. It says in Mishlei that if you can't pay your debts, why should God have to take away the sleeping mattress that is beneath you? That's a euphemism for your wife. Rabbi Yochanan says that if a man's first wife passes, then he feels as if the temple was destroyed in his times. Shenamar, and we know this from Yechezkel, Ben Adam hineni lokeach mimcha es machmar inecha v'magefa lo sispad v'lo sivke v'lo sovo dimasecha, that God says to Yechezkel, I'm going to take away the delight of your eyes in a plague. meaning I'm taking away your wife. But don't cry, don't shed any tears, because this is a portent for the destruction of the temple. And I spoke to the nation in the morning, and my wife died that night. And then the very next pasuk, Yechezkel says that God says, I'm going to take away the delight of your eyes. That very same term, the delight of your eyes, that was used for a wife. So you see that it's like the churban when a person's wife dies. Amar Rabbi Alexandri, Kol Adam Shemeisa Ishto B'Yamav Olam Choshech Ba'ado. That if a man's wife dies in his lifetime, it's the whole world grows dark around him. Shenamar Or Choshech Be'ahalo V'Nero Alav Yeda'echa. As it says that the whole, it's in the pasuk in Eov, Or Chashech Be'ahalo, that the light goes dark in a person's tent, and the tent refers to the matrimonial home. That when the matrimonial home is destroyed because she passes away, darkness sets in. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina Omar Pisiosov Miskatzros. Not only that, but a person's footsteps become shorter. In other words, he loses his vigor. Shenamar, and because the very next pasuk in Eov says that Yetzirut Sa'adei Ono Batashlichehu Atzaso, that the way he walks becomes now curtailed or restrained in some way. And Rabbi Abo Omer Atzaso Nofeles, and even his counsel falls away. Shenemar Batashlichehu Atzaso, as it says that his counsel has been thrust away. Amar Rabbi Bar Chana Amar Rabbi Yechanan Kosher Lezavgam Kikriyas Yamsuf. It is as difficult to join a man and a woman together as splitting the Red Sea.
Perfectly for Tubav.
Right, perfect for Tubav, exactly. And this is a repetition of the Gemara in Sota, the very beginning of the Gemara in Sota. Shenamar Elokim Moshiv Yechidim Beis Lamotzi Asirim Bekosharos. That God establishes individuals in a house together, and He removes prisoners Bekosharos with bonds. And like the Gemara in Sota had said, do not read it as Bekosharos, but rather with Bechi and Shiros, which is the emotional experiences the Jews had when they left Mitzrayim. Aini, is this really so? V'ha'amar Rav Yehuda Marav Arboim Yom Kodem Yitziras Avlad Bas Kol Yosef V'Omeres Bas Ploni LePloni. But how can you tell me that it's difficult to join them together if, after all, we know that a heavenly voice cries out upon conception and says that so and so will marry so and so? So it should be easy. So Lokasha Habazivig Rishon Habazivig Shein. So the simple answer, the explanation of what those words mean is: first marriage is easier, second marriage is Kikasha Kikriyas Yamsuf. But there are different interpretations to this, which we won't go into now. Amar of Shmuel Bar Nachman, L'chol yesh temura chutz me'eshes neurim. Everyone is replaceable except the wife of your youth. That there's no way that you can recapture that in any future wife. If only men knew this, right? Because they want to trade, they want to do a trade-in and get a newer model. There's no replacement. There's no way to replace the emotional bond between a man and his first wife. Shenemar ve'eshes neurim kisi ma'es, that it's that when a wife of your youth is despised or is lost, there's no way to replace that. So Masni lo Rav Yehuda Rav Yitzchak Berei. So this is a little bit amusing. Rav Yehuda had a son Rav Yitzchak, and he taught him the following thing: Ein adam motzi koras ruach elam ishta rishona. The only satisfaction that a person gets in life, he can't get no satisfaction unless he has his Eishes Neurim, right? Unless he has the wife of his youth. That's the only thing that will give him satisfaction. Shenemar Yehi Makorcha Baruch Usmach Meishes Neurayich. That may your source, may your wellspring be blessed and rejoice from the wife of your youth. Amar lo kagon man, Amar lo kagon imecha. So he says, Dad, give me an example of a couple that you see that the husband really gets satisfaction. He says, your mother's a perfect example. I get such satisfaction. She's a wonderful lady. So, Aini, is this really so that Rav Yehuda could have said this to Rav Yitzchak, his son? V'ham makrile Rav Yehuda le Rav Yitzchak bereu motza ani mar mimoves es ha'isha asher hi mitzudim b'charomim. Once Rav Yehuda was teaching his son the pasuk, Rav Yitzchak the pasuk, that I find, it says in Koheles, I find a woman to be more bitter than death because she is all snares and traps. And Rav Yitzchak said, give me an example, Dad. And he said, "Oh, your mother, I can't stand her." So the question is, how could he say that your mother is so wonderful, and then another time say your mother makes me miserable? So Va'amarle, when you get married, you can ask me the question, Ellie. So anyway, so Va'amarle, so the answer is, so the Gemara's answer is miskaf takifa ivure ma'avra b'mila. The answer is that she did have a tough side to her, and sometimes she could be a starker and really get on his nerves. But there was a soft side to her as well, and just saying a soft word to her, a nice word, and she would melt. So there was both sides to her, and as I'm sure we can all have some. Yes, Ellie, what did you want to say?
What I would have thought is that Rabbi Yitzchak's mother in this case is not his mother but his stepmother. And
no, that's not the answer. No. You don't have to come on to any chachmas.
That's why I said
when you get married, you'll understand. Okay. Amar Rav Shmuel Bar Unya Mishmei Derav Isha Goylam Hi Ve'ino Koresus Bris El Lamisha Asakli. That a woman, when she's a virgin, is like an unfinished vessel. I mean, think about it. It's even morphologically. She's like when you buy a vessel, an urn, right, or a jug, and the mouth of the jug has not been perforated yet. That's essentially what a virgin is like. She hasn't been, her body has not been perforated yet, and therefore, when her kli, when she physically has been completed as a kli, she commits herself completely to that person who has completed her, and that's the idea. Being is that. A virginal wife commits herself heart and soul to her first husband, and that can't be replicated. So Shene'amar ki bo alayach osayach Hashem tzivako shemo, as it says that he who is intimate with you makes you. That's what it means. And Hashem is the Lord of hosts, is the one who made the Jewish people. In a sense, we were his virginal wife. Tana ein ish meis el ishto vein isha meisa el labayla. We know this from many hespedim, unfortunately, that when a man dies, it's primarily, the person who feels it most acutely is the wife. When a woman dies, the person who feels it most acutely is the husband. Ein ish meis el ishto shneimar vayomas elimelech ishna ami vein isha meisa el labaylo shneimar va'ani bevo mipadan meisa alai Rachel. And we know this. We know that when a man dies, it's primarily for his wife. As it says that Elimelech, the husband of Naomi, died. He was a lot more than the husband of Naomi. He was a father, he was a son, whatever. But it was most acute for Naomi. And the same thing that Yaakov telling Yosef, when Rachel, your mother, died, she died alai, Mesa alai Rachel. She died upon me, meaning that it was most acute for my feelings. Next, Ein Rowan Oso V'chula, you don't look at the king when he's getting a haircut. Tana Rabbanan Melech Nistaper B'chol Yom, Kohen Gadol Me'erev Shabbos Le'erev Shabbos, Kohen Hedjot Echad L'shloshim Yom. That the Brisa tells us that a king gets a haircut daily. The Kohen Gadol gets a haircut weekly every Friday, and a regular Kohen who does the avod in the temple has to get a haircut at least once every 30 days. And Melech Nistaper B'chol Yom Shenemar Melech B'yafyo Techazeno Einecha. How do I know that a king has to get a haircut every day? As it says, the king, you shall gaze upon the king in all of his beauty. So a king always has to be well coiffed. I love that word, coiffed. And so therefore, he has to always look like $1 million. Like, just imagine the president's hairdo, right? In other words, that's he's bald. Trump could use a haircut, but I don't know. He would look much better in a haircut. But at least he looks well groomed every time you see him. So Kohen Gadol me'erev Shabbos le'erev Shabbos. The Kohen Gadol has to get a haircut every Friday. So Amar Rav Shmuel Bar Nachman Amar Rabbi Yechanan Holu Mishmaros Mischadshos. That the reason is because every Friday a new shift of Kohanim. There's a weekly shift of Kohanim that come in. So he needs to look well coiffed when the new shift comes in. That's the reason why. Kohen Hedjot Echad L'shloshim Yom Dichsiv V'Rosham Lo Yigalechu Ufera Lo Yishalechu Kasom Yichsemu Es Rosheim. So there's a pasuk in Yechezkel which describes the restrictions of the Kohanim. And it says they may not shave their hair, but nor may they allow their hair to grow wild. And they have to, kasom yichsemu, they have to do something to adorn their heads. And we'll see what that means shortly. B'yolef pera mi nazir. Ksivacha pera lo yishalechu. Ksivhasam gadel pera sa'arosho. Malahalan shloshim, afkan shloshim. The word pera also appears in the context of a nazir. We know that a standard nazirus is 30 days. So therefore, when the Torah says that the nazir lets his hair grow as a pera, it means a 30-day growth. So when the Kohen says, when it says by the Kohen he may not have a pera, it means he may not have a 30-day growth, which means that once every 30 days, he's got to get a haircut. Utnanami stam nazir shloshim yon, as the Mishnah says, standard nazirus is 30 days. V'hasaminolan, and where do we know that? That a standard nazirus is 30 days. Amar Rav Masna do Amar Kra Kadosh Yihiyeh B'gematria Tlasin Havu. That the word Yihiyeh, he shall be holy. Yihiyeh in gematria is 30. It's 10, 5, 10, 5. That's 15 and 15 is 30. Amar le Rav Papa le Abaye Ema lo lirbu klal. But wait a minute. The pasuk says they should not have any para, any growth of hair. Maybe that means they have to get a haircut daily and not let the hair grow at all. So Amar le iksiv lo yishalechu pera kidaka amart. But hashad tziv upera pera lihavi shluchi lo lishalchu. He says to him that look at the word, at the structure of the sentence. If the sentence would have said pera lo yishalechu, they shall not allow to have any long hair sent out, sent forth, then that would have implied, like you're saying, don't let your hair grow at all. But it says, but since it says, if it would have said lo yishalechu pera, then like you're saying, they shall not send forth any hair growth. That's what would have implied. But once it says upera lo yishalechu, puts the word pera first, it means that they can't let the hair get to the point of pera. But up until pera, they are allowed to get, and pera is defined as a 30-day growth. So ihachi ha'idna nami. So the Gemara now asks another question. If a Kohen, when he's doing the avodah, can't let his hair grow past 30 days, why shouldn't there be a halacha that even bisman hazeh, just like the laws of the Kohanim are extant even without a temple, maybe this halacha should be extant, and every person who's a Kohen can't let his hair grow more than 30 days. So the Gemara answers, Dumya Dayain. Ma yain bisman biyahuda aser, shalo bisman biyashari. Af pruya rosh bisman biya aser, shalo bisman biyashari. The answer is because it's just like the prohibition of drinking wine. A Kohen is allowed to drink wine bisman hazeh. It's only in temple times when he's going to be entering the temple, he's not allowed to drink wine. So the same thing holds by getting haircuts. Only when there's a time when he's going into the temple can he not go in with a hair growth that's more than 30 days. The yain shelo bizman bia shari. So you mean to tell me that you're allowed to drink wine when you're not going into the temple? V'hatanya Rabbi Omer ani kohanim asrum lishtos yain la'olam. Avol mo'es eshatakanaso kalkalasa. Rebbe, I quoted this Gemara in Tisha B'Av for those who were with us. Rebbe said, I say that really, technically, Kohanim should not drink wine bisman hazeh. If, let's say, you know you're a Kohen, but you don't know which mishmar you come from, really the law should be that you should never be allowed to drink wine because the temple may be rebuilt at any moment, and you're going to have to be in a state of preparedness to do the avodah lickety-split. And if you've had a few drinks, you're not going to be able to do the avodah. But, says Rebbe, but what can I do? Shetakanaso kalkalasa. That the remedy for that is the fact that there's been such a long time when the temple has not been rebuilt, we're no longer choshesh that it's going to happen with such immediacy. That's essentially what Rebbe said. And va'amar Abaye keman shasi kohani chamra ha'idna karebbe michal derabanan asri. And Abaye said that's what Kohanim rely on to allow themselves to drink wine bisman hazeh. But it's mashma from that statement that the Chachamim disagree, and they say that a Kohen even bisman hazeh should not drink wine. So the Gemara says, Hasam hainu taima mehera yibona beis hamikdash shubin kona roi la'avoda v'leka. So the answer is, why do the Chachamim hold that a Kohen can't drink wine bisman hazeh? Because we're hoping that the temple will be built lickety-split with immediacy, and they're going to need Kohanim to do the avoda right away, and he's not going to be available. But hachanami bo'ina kona roi la'avoda v'leka. Well, then why don't you say the same thing with a Kohen who's got long hair? Hacha efshar demisaper ba'ayil. Because a Kohen who's got long hair, quick, get out the clippers. We'll get him 30 seconds. He'll have short hair.
Longer to sober up.
But hasam nami efshar denayim porta ba'ayil. Da'amar Rav Acha derech mil v'sheina kolshu mefigen esayayin. So, but by that argument, a quick drummel, a quick nap, will also remove intoxication. We know that walking a mill or sleeping for even a cat nap is enough to remove intoxication. So what's the big deal? So the Gemara says, "V'lavit marala Amar Rav Nachman Amar Rabbi Bar Avua lo shanu elo shishasa kedei revius avol yoser michdei revius kol shekain dederech tordasa v'shena mishacharasa." But wait a minute, that's different. Wine, the only time that taking a cat nap or walking a mill, which is about a kilometer's distance, will remove intoxication is if you've only drunk one revius, just like a few ounces of wine. But if you've had a half a bottle or 2 bottles of wine, you know what's going to happen if you walk or you take a nap? It'll only make you weaker and more drunk, more intoxicated. So that's why we're concerned, and we therefore ban Kohanim from drinking wine. Now Rav Ashi Omer shesuya yayin demachli avoda gozru behu rabbanan prue rosh lo machli avoda lo gozru behu rabbanan. Rav Ashi gives a totally different answer. He says the reason why there's a prohibition, for at least according to the Chachamim, for Kohanim to drink wine bisman hazeh versus getting a requirement of getting a regular haircut is because the difference between the two is that when a Kohen does the avoda drunk, the avoda is puzzle. It's absolutely invalid. But if a Kohen goes in with long hair and does the avoda, he's committed a violation, but the avoda b'di'evet is still valid. And that's therefore why the Chachamim did not require Kohanim bisman hazeh to keep their hair short. So meisvei ve'elu shebemisa. So how can you say that, Rav Ashi? I'm going to show you that having long hair is the same thing as intoxication as far as its ramifications on the avoda. Because the Brisa says, ve'elu shebemisa, the following situations get the penalty of misa bidei shamayim, of heavenly death. Pru erosh ususu yayin. And the 2 examples are doing the avoda where your hair is long, or doing the avoda when you're drunk. So I can see very clearly in the pasuk where it says that intoxication, the penalty is death, because it says don't drink wine in the Torah, you Kohanim, and if you do, you'll die. But elapure rosh minolan. But how do you know that having long hair gets the penalty of death? So the Gemara answers the iskash shtuye yayin lepure rosh, because the scripture connects the two. Dichsiv v'rosham lo yigalechu ufera lo yishalechu v'yayin lo yishtu v'goymer mashtuye yayin b'misa af pure rosh b'misa. That same pasuk in Yecheskel that we referenced a moment ago also says immediately after saying that they can't let their hair grow long, also says they can't drink wine. So the pasuk connects the two, and therefore whatever the penalty for drinking wine is also the same penalty for letting your hair grow long. And that's how I know you get misa b'dei shamayim. Umina. But from that very argument, you should make the following logical argument: Mashtu yayin demachli avoda, af purei rosh demachli avoda. That just like if you drink wine, you invalidate the avoda. The avoda is muscle. The same thing should be true if your hair is long. You invalidate the avoda. So how can you, Rav Ashi, say that there's a difference between the two? The Gemara says, Kasha, you're right. We don't have a resolution. Alex, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to point out, Rabbi, there's substantial variations in the levels of how long alcohol lasts in the blood. It varies a lot with the quantity and the dose.
And the weight of the person and his...
But even small doses can have an effect.
Yeah,
Actually,
absolutely.
I took a toxicology course, one extra, and we had an expert explaining this, and it's I've heard up to 12 hours you can last.
Interesting.
But even the small quantities can affect the upper things.
Cognitive
without getting
function.
into too many complications explained to you.
But Alice, we're talking about Kohanim.
That's right. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, you get the teacher's pet prize today. Okay, Amalei Ravina the Ravashi. Hi Adelo Asi Yecheskel Manomer. So Ravina asks Ravashi a very simple question. He says, okay, I know this law from Yecheskel that Kohanim can't have their hair long when they're doing the avoda. But before Yecheskel came along, he's living hundreds of years after the Torah is given. Where did we know this from before Yecheskel said it? So, V'litai mei chad amar Rav Chisda davar zeh mitaras Moshe Rabbeinu lo lamadnu at sheba Yecheskel v'limdanu kol ben echar ara lev v'arel basar lo yavel mikdoshi l'sharaseni. So, ad lo ba Yecheskel man amra. So, Rav Chisda said that there's another law that we got from Yecheskel that was never written in the Torah, but yet Yecheskel taught us, and that is that if a Kohen is uncircumcised, he's also not allowed to do the avodah. Let's say a Kohen is a hemophiliac, and therefore he can't have a bris. He can't have any surgical procedure. He's still a yid, he's still a Kohen, but he can't do the avodah. Where do we know this from? We know this from Sefer Yecheskel that says that if he's an oral, he can't do the avodah. Mm-hmm. Well, if that's the case, ask the same question. How did we know that? In other words, what did generations before Yecheskel do? Where did they know it from? So Ella Gemara Gemiri La Va'asa Yecheskel V'asmacha Akra Hachanami Gemara Gemiri La Va'asa Yecheskel V'asmacha Akra. The answer is that it was an oral tradition that was passed down from Har Sinai, and Yecheskel was the first one to write it down, but it was orally taught throughout Klal Yisrael before then. The same thing is true over here. Everyone knew orally that you're not allowed to let your hair be long when you're doing the avodah. The same idea. So my kasom yichsum is rasheim. So the Gemara's now question is, what is the verse? What do those words in the pasuk mean? After it says that they can't let their hair grow long, they have to do something to fashion their hair in some way. So Tana Kaminti Sporos Lulianis. So the Brisa says that they had a unique kind of haircut called a Lulianeth haircut. So my Tisporas Lulianeth. So what is that? Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel Tisporta Yechidah. It is a distinguished. In other words, you look at a person and you know that this person is different in his haircut from everybody else. That's what it means. It's distinguished. So Heichidami. So what does it look like? Amar Ravashi Rosha Shalzeh B'tzadi Karo Shalzeh. What's distinguished about it is that the hair is so perfectly cropped, so close to the scalp, and it's done with such precision that you fold over the hair follicle, and it is perfectly measured so that it touches the root of the hair that's next to it. I don't know how that, obviously it depends on the density of hair in the person's scalp, so I'm not sure exactly how to measure that. But that's the way a person who's a special barber for the Kohanim, that's how he had to get it. So Shalus Rebbe, Ezehu Tispara Shel Kohen Gadol. What does it look like, that haircut of a Kohen Gadol? So Amar Lahen Su'eru Mitispara Shel Ben El Asha. That he said to them, my son-in-law knows perfectly what it is. Take a look at the way he does haircuts. So Tanya, Rebbe Omer, Lo Al Chinam Pizer Ben El Asha Esma'osav Elakadei La'aros Bo Tispara Shel Kohen Gadol. When I first learned this Gemara years ago, I thought that it was that Ben Elasha had a Kohen Gadol's haircut. But I look at it more carefully, and especially look at Rashi, that's not what it means. Why did Ben Elasha spend so much money to learn how to give haircuts like that? Because I guess he went to a special haircutting academy to learn haircutting, but why did he spend so much money to learn it? The answer is because he wanted to model, for halachic purposes, for instructional purposes, how the haircut of the Kohen Gadol looked. And that's why he practiced this so carefully to make sure that he would pass this down as a Masorah to his students. Hadron Allah Kohen Gadol. Have a wonderful day. Anyone say Kaddish? Yes.